it is good to see you all. I'm glad we're together. So we are going to be, I'm going to spotlight myself, but I'm going to be sharing my screen a lot. I welcome conversation throughout this I welcome this conversation throughout this presentation. So feel free to raise your hand and jump in if you have anything to share, or put something in the chat. And I think Rabbi Zai will let me know if anything appears there. So we are going to be talking this morning about, let's advance the slides, our mornings and how we start our mornings, and with the hope that this will influence. I mean, I know our morning is almost over at this point, but it's a good opportunity now to restart things. We've been sitting for a little while, and I think it's always a good opportunity to explore the idea of blessings in our tradition, and how particularly our morning service, our morning order of prayers and blessings is meant to help us get started on a positive day, to get started on a meaningful day. So all of the parts and pieces that we're going to be discussing this morning come from a part of our morning service, which we don't always spend a lot of time on, even in some of our alternative groups, which is called Birkot HaShachar. Shachar is the morning, and Birkot means blessings, and it's in the plural. And so we're going to be looking at some of the traditions of these morning blessings that we have, as well as some more modern interpretations. And we'll be actually taking an opportunity to say these blessings together, to really walk through them, to explore them, to celebrate them. And I want to start from a place of gratitude. You know, traditionally, modeh ani lefanecha is actually meant to be said as soon as we wake up in the morning. We add it into our morning service because there's sort of an assumption that we may not have remembered to say it at home, but it is really meant to be expressed as soon as we open our eyes. And so Rabbi Shefa Gold writes, as human beings, we have inherited a brain from our Stone Age ancestors that is particularly alert to the possibilities of danger, right? So this makes sense, right? We're waking up, and our brain is at its most primitive, as you might say, and so we're particularly worried about the negative possibilities. Neuroscientists call this negativity bias. We are programmed to first notice what's wrong. And so she explains, my prayer life is designed to overcome this negative bias and open my heart to the blessing and miracle that God is giving me today. Every spiritual tradition acknowledges that how we begin our day matters. So each day I wake up with an intention that when I open my eyes, I will see and recognize God's face in the details of the day I'm about to encounter. If my very first expression is gratefulness, rather than seeing what's wrong today or obsessing over how much I need to get done, then I step onto a path of blessing. I prepare myself for wonder. With the first phrase of the prayer, Modeh ani lefanecha, I open to the miracle embedded in the day that is being given to me. And so we are going to recite Modeh ani together in just a moment. And before we do, though, I want to invite you to think about some of the negative thoughts that you may have started this day with. Now, this happens to be a particularly positive day and experience. We've all been sitting here together. We've been learning together. So you may not have that many negative thoughts or biases, but there might be something that creeped in the morning, throughout this morning. Think about that thought. Think about those negative biases that may have popped up, and I want to invite you to let them go. So we're going to start from a place of gratitude in order to counteract some of those negativity biases that we have inside of our brains. They happen, they pop up, it's natural. And so even though we have been awake for a few hours at this point, let's sing together and let go of some of this. Moda ani lifanecha, melech chai v'kayam, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך. One more time. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך. We say, I gratefully acknowledge before you, sovereign of life, enduring. You return my soul to me with compassion. Your faithfulness is great. So of course these words come from a time and place where people were afraid of going to sleep at night. There were dangers that lurked in the darkness, and sleeping felt pretty close to, or looked pretty close to, what death might have looked like. And so for the rabbis of our tradition, they say we start from a place of blessing, because we are awake, we are together, and we're able to take a deep breath in. We feel that our soul has been returned to us, our soul being that spark of the divine within us that each of us carries, and it's God's faithfulness in us that is wonderful and exciting. That means that we get to continue on this next day. And so Rabbi Jonathan Sachs wrote in the Koran Siddur, which is an Orthodox Siddur. If you are curious and learning more about prayer, I do recommend this particular Siddur, because his commentary is incredible. It uses very gendered language. It obviously doesn't reflect a lot of our Reform theology, but if this is something you want to explore more about, I'm happy to talk to you more about it. And so, Zikrono Livracha, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs writes, despite its brevity, this sentence articulates a transformative act of faith, the recognition that life is a gift from God. And really that is what gratitude is about. It is outwardly focused. And so by starting our day with this particular prayer from this place of gratefulness, it is about taking our focus outside of ourselves, like Rabbi Shefa Gould writes, separating ourselves from that negativity bias and focusing on the outwardness, the gifts in our lives that are outside of ourselves. And it's sort of a remarkable thing to think about, to say that the soul that we carry, the spark of the divine that we carry, is another one of those gifts that exists outside of ourselves, that it is other focused. So want to move on to our next blessing. I am going in order of Birkot HaShachar, but I'm not going to focus on every single part and piece of this particular section of the morning service, because we'd be here for a long time. But I wanted to highlight certain things that I think speak to our experience as humans about how we get through our day in particular. The fundraising idea. I will record Modeh Ani, and you're welcome to we'll find a way to share. You can use that as your alarm clock if you'd like. Our next blessing is literally a blessing, and I think that this is something worth mentioning and talking about. Right? In Judaism, we have prayers in our liturgy, and then we also have these things called blessings. So a blessing is something that literally uses the format of Baruch Atah Adonai, blessed are you Adonai, and because Baruch is that blessing hint. So sometimes our prayers throughout our morning service, and actually in any service, don't have that blessing format in them. They wouldn't technically be called a blessing, but they're still worth talking about. They are about how we, the broader sense of how we start our day. I think they influence that. And this one is called a Shariat Star. It speaks to, a Shariat Star literally means for the one who created, right? And so this is a modern interpretation, and it is speaking to the intention of this blessing, the ideas behind it, which talks about the fact that now that we've woken up, now that we are in our bodies and aware of what's going on in the world, we're aware of our bodies now, and particularly in the morning, depending on how you've slept, you may be very aware of how your body is feeling. This blessing actually is traditionally meant to be said after the first time you go to the bathroom in the morning. It was our rabbi's way of saying, how do we know that everything in our system is working? Well, if you're able to go to the bathroom, then you know all of your parts and pieces are working. And if anybody's come out of surgery, you know that you're not usually allowed to go home from the hospital till that first time you go to the bathroom. That's how your doctors and nurses know that everything's working the way it's supposed to. And so this is a very human recognition of our bodies, and being comfortable with the fact that our bodies are a little bit weird, they're a little bit gross, but that's a blessing too. They do weird things, and that's something that's worth celebrating. And so Dan Nichols wrote this really beautiful melody to go with this idea of a Shariat Star. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and I'm a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. And the Hebrew included in this is what's called the Chatima, the blessing part of this prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofecho b'afsar umafli la'asot. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. And so we are going to sing this one together now as well. We'll start with some woes. So even if you're not going to sing along with me, you can do the woes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then it gets really high, or you can take a step down because it's an arpeggio. Whoa. We'll try that again. Whoa, 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 whoa. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofechu basar umafli lasot. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. We are built in magnificent ways. Our bodies are beautiful and whole and broken. And that is something that each of us carries with us every single day. There are parts inside of us that always feel a little bit broken, no matter who we are or how we are built. And if we can begin our morning with an opportunity to celebrate that, to honor it, I think it's going to put us on the path to a good day.
Rabbi, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
I'm sorry to do this, but I want to brag on you just for a moment, and that is Rabbi DePaolo is a liturgist in the words, but also in the visualization. Um, she puts together most of all of our slides for visual tefillah, for our visual prayer. And everybody was asking if they get copies of these slides. That's because the words and your singing voice and your wisdom is entering us, but also these visuals as well. And I don't think people take notice because it's so subliminal, but it is a huge part of a new prayer life in the 21st century that you have really mastered, particularly with our big screen to TV and now certainly all of our virtual stuff. This picture of this young woman dancing here is a powerful image for us to think about the sun coming through our brokenness and even that which is perfect. So I just wanted to make point of a series or a class on blessings. It's not just about the words or the wisdom, it's about what we're seeing as well. And you do that so well. I think your mom is here. Having graphic artists as parents helps a lot too, but it's something that you do so beautifully. And I just want everybody on the call to notice that, because it's not spoken, but you are really sharing prayer with people in ways they don't even notice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here,
I appreciate
here.
it.
And Melissa Park is here too, your assistant, who is so helpful in making that happen too. I want to make
Yes.
no mention of that too.
Thank you, Melissa, who really helps us hold our visual tefillah together. Well, thank you for saying that. And yes, I've enjoyed our adding in visual tefillah because I do love liturgy, and it has been an exciting way for me in my rabbinate to explore what would prayer look like visually, and I think I hope that the subliminalness is it like sinks in just in little interesting ways as we're all watching it. So our next series, it really is a series of blessings. No pictures this time. I just pulled it straight from our prayer book. Is Nisim B'chol Yom. But I've taught about Nisim B'chol Yom. A number of you have heard me say these sorts of things before, but I think that this is such an important way to start our morning that it absolutely bears repeating. So Nisim means miracles. B'chol Yom means daily or every day. These are our daily miracles, our everyday miracles. This past weekend, we read Beshalach, the Torah portion that talks about the Reed Sea splitting and the Israelites crossing into freedom. And that's one of those big picture miracles. And of course, and at Hanukkah time, we talk about spinning dreidels and reminding ourselves of the great miracle that happened there in Jerusalem when the Maccabees overthrew the Assyrian Greeks. But here, these are our daily miracles. We may, as modern Jews, may not experience those kinds of miraculous, huge miracles. But every day we have different daily miracles that we can take a moment to think about, to explore, to celebrate. And so this is another series of blessings that's meant to help us walk through all of these little tiny basic ideas about our life being a miracle, really. And so what I really appreciate about these in our prayer book actually is that they walk through how we're meant to be said. Again, these are blessings that were originally meant to be said as we were waking up in our day, but the rabbis moved it into our morning service because they know that we're human and we forget to do these kinds of things, so it's helpful to have them be done, printed in a prayer book to remind us. But there's a way we can actually, there's a physicality to these in particular that I think is worth exploring. So I invite you to do this all along with me. We're gonna say these blessings. We're going to kind of walk through what they're meant to represent. So our first one is for awakening. So I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes for a moment. And as I chant the blessing, I invite you to wake up. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sek bina, l'habhin ben yom u'ben laila. Amen. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has given us mind, the ability to distinguish day from night. So this one was meant to be said as you just start to wake up and see the difference in day and night. Next, we have for vision. So you're going to open your eyes and start to see the world around you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. The God who opens the eyes of the blind. Our next is for the ability to stretch. So as I chant it, you're going to stretch a little bit, move around, pick your legs up, wiggle your arms and toes, do what you need to do. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. So it's tied to who frees the captive. It feels so powerful, that sort of miracle, but this is also our miracle of being able to wake up, because we all know what it feels like to be trapped in a dream and you can't move. That's terrifying. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim, who lifts up the fallen. So this is when you would get out of bed. Next we go to Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim, who stretches the earth over the water. So of course, once you're standing up, you feel firm earth to stand upon. I'm gonna move my camera. There we go. And that is a daily miracle. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver, for the gift of motion. So this is when you start walking maybe to the bathroom. Who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. And so who clothes the naked? This is when you would put on your clothes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layayef koach, who gives strength to the weary. A little stretch, you feel your body, you're starting to put your clothes on, you feel a little more human, a little more ready for the day, but you need to gird yourself up. Maybe this is when you get your cup of coffee. For reawakening. So, and this in particular, the when you're finally awake and your mind is really there's this blessing too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheinai me'inai utuna me'af apai. Or perhaps you're somebody who falls back asleep in your morning. Maybe you've hit snooze a few times, so this is removing the slumber from your eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tselem Elohim, a blessing that we recognize that we are made in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani bat chorim, that we are free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael, that we are a part of this Jewish community. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura, who girds Israel with strength. And so our prayer book suggests that this is about purpose. This is about how we know what we're going to do with our day. And the last thing that we do, who crowns Israel with splendor as part of the series of blessings, is when you might put on your kippah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Oter Yisrael b'tifara. Amen. So these blessings are sort of meant to help us walk through our morning and walk through these actions that we do every single day, and then to see them each as a daily miracle. Putting on your clothes is a miracle. Feeling the earth beneath your feet, feeling your bed underneath you, all of those things are miracles that we have. Being able to wipe the slumber from our eyes, to wash our faces, to start the day with purpose. Each of those is a miracle that is meant to be celebrated. I'm going to skip this next moment. Because I do want to end on Elu Dibarim. I know I'm running out of time. But this is the idea that you can express spontaneous blessings with this format. Baruch atah Adonai. You can add in Eloheinu melech haolam. So blessed are you, O Eternal One, holy energy of the world, and then you fill in that thing that you want to say a blessing for. The last part of Birkot HaShachar that I wanted to make mention of this morning is Elu Devarim, because this, I think, speaks to the blessing of being in community. the blessing of experiencing the world together. And even here in this moment, when we are separated from each other, when we're virtual, we are still in community with each other. And that is, it's a remarkable thing. So this blessing, this prayer rather, comes from the Mishnah originally, which describes the things in this world that we do as humans, which bear fruit, and are limitless in their bearing of fruit. Basically, that the benefits that we get from doing these things have no end, which are to honor our parents, to perform acts of love and kindness for another, to attend study daily, to welcome the stranger, to visit the sick, to rejoice with bride and groom, to console the bereaved, to pray with sincerity, to make peace when there is strife. And the study of Torah is equal to them all because it leads to them all. So that these things that we do in community, to support one another, to celebrate with one another, to lift people up when they are low, all of these things take on extra meaning in our lives because they bring us into community with one another. And so I will end there.